In a world where podcasting is king, you are listening to Gundam at MAHQ.
Who shot you in the ass?
Who? That who would be you.
Me? I shot you?
Yeah.
I mean, I was shooting. Yeah, I did a lot of shooting. I mean, but I ain't saying I shot you in the ass. I mean, I ain't saying I didn't shoot you. But
Gundam.
damn! Somebody shot you in the ass.
Tell me about it.
Welcome back to Gundam at MAHQ. This is episode 302, and I'm one of your hosts, Chris, joined by Solbro. Say hello, Solbro. Were you on mute?
Mute? No, I'm not. There we go, yo. I'm here. Guys, let me know if I'm coming in too hot. People who are watching, but thanks for tuning in, everybody.
You know, I think you need to get a tattoo like on your wrist or something that
Right?
says like mute or something.
I have a new layout now, so it's fucking me up. I've been pretty
a
good
Post-it
the
note
last
over the
couple
monitor.
episodes, but because I had a rhythm, but now it's like completely thrown off because I'm using a new piece of machinery. So that's what's up. But thanks guys for tuning in, and back to you, Chris.
So, as everyone has probably noticed on the live stream right now, Neo is not here, and unfortunately he had a work commitment, so we're going to be flying the three of us. We're joined by Pedro Cortez as our special guest.
Hello, everybody. Once again, back to talk about these decades. I love it.
In the chat, I want to shout out to Zaldron, who said, Neo better not spoil Requiem for Vengeance like he did Code Geass. Well, you know what? I'll spoil it for you.
Oh shit!
Suzaku did it.
Suzaku did it.
Suzaku did it.
He did it. That was him.
He did it. He fucking did it.
The whole
He
time.
fucking did it. It was he was just there the whole time in the corner. He just did it.
Just
You
watching.
may not see him, but he did it.
What a bastard.
Yes. Anyway, we are here to wrap up our series on years ending in the number 4. We have previously talked about 1984 and 94 and 04, and now we're going to do 2014. And we got a lot to cover tonight, and also with Neo not being here, we are going to forego the news and just jump right into the main topic. But first, a few quick announcements. A reminder that I will be missing the next 2 episodes in November because I will be in Japan. You can be sure that I will be seeing a Gundam, and we'll be seeing some pictures of that. I'll post them on Blue Sky. If you have not checked us out on Blue Sky, please do. We've had some great conversations recently, and the Gundam community has gotten on there in big numbers, and so much more engagement on there than on the site that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of which,
check us out. Check out Gundam as well.
If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that on the layout, I replaced the site that should not be mentioned with Blue Sky for both MAHQ and Gundam. So gundam.bsky.social and mahq.bsky.social for both of the Blue Skies. You guys can go ahead and follow us on those and check out our posts.
Nice. So, another quick announcement. On the day that we're recording this, Requiem for Vengeance has dropped on Netflix worldwide, so check that out. We'll be reviewing it in December. That'll be our last episode of the year. As to what will be happening in November when I'm not around, you'll have to tune in and find out, because even I don't know what it'll be.
You're not going to be here.
I won't be here, and I'm not going to listen to it, so whatever it is, enjoy. So, moving into our main topic, 2014, we've got it broken down into a couple of categories, and as with all the previous ones, we're not going to get into a deep discussion about the content of these series, especially because a lot of them discussed previously on either Gundam or Chaos Theater. And quick note, since we're going to be referencing Chaos Theater a lot on this episode, if you want to go check out the episodes that we are referring to, the entire collection of Chaos Theater is available on the Internet Archive, so you can go get it there. I know they were down recently, but they are back in read-only mode, so you can still download and check out those episodes, and let's get it going. So for TV/OVA, I don't even know why the fuck I put this worst one here. I Tenchi Muyo. And the most surprising thing to me about this thing, which I have never seen, is that anybody made a Tenchi Muyo series in 2014. I would have thought that this thing had been long fucking dead by then.
Yeah, not even a remake. A completely original Tenchi series, like, I guess somebody's final retiring idea, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Tenchi Muyo fan, at least for the OVA and the original TV series, but I never got around to watching this one, so I can't really say if it's good or not. I don't like the designs from the pictures I found. Kind of looks like it just doesn't look as stand out as the original series and how the characters looked. In that, it kind of looks like a mid 2010s anime, a harem anime, I guess. And I'm not really jumping out my skin to check it out versus the old classic gang. So if anything, if you guys have seen it and you got good things to say about it, let me know.
All right, and that's all we'll say about this. The next thing we are moving on to, well, this we definitely covered on Gundam a lot at the time, and this is Gundam Build Fighters Try and Gundam Reconquista in G. And these two series are notable because it's the only time that two Gundam series were on TV simultaneously.
That's right, man. That was a wild time.
It was, so we were reviewing them at the same time. It's like, oh no, not this again.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing for when I was writing for Japanator. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, you were.
Those words have not come out of my lips in quite a while.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Build Fighters Try, it's okay. It's far below the original Build Fighters, but definitely better than Build Divers, which is also not saying much. And Reconquista in G, it's a series that I like every aspect of it except the writing. But, we still at some point have to get around to reviewing the movies, which I hear tighten up a lot of things and make a lot of improvements. So we shall have to see at some point in the future on Gundam if that ends up being the case.
Yeah.
So
I'm down for that, especially if Tomino has made improvements to the story.
And they're all done, so they're just sitting there.
We just got to just knock them out whenever you get an open time in the schedule.
We also had this same year from Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam-san, which we did talk about on Gundam. Very goofy little comedy shorts, kind of like in the vein of SD Gundam, and it is actually domestically available on Blu-ray, so you can check that out if you want.
I totally forgot about that. Holy shit. I need to get that.
Yeah. Next
Yeah.
up, one that I finally watched recently after a very, very long time, Initial D Final Stage.
Oh man, I still need to get on that.
You know, it's kind of odd to call this a stage because it's only 4 episodes,
Yeah.
and the previous stage was like 10 or 15 episodes. So I don't know why they didn't just do these last 4 in 5th stage.
Yeah, I kind of wish they had. I would just tack it on. That would have made sense.
But you get to see Takumi's final race, and he's fighting another Hachiroku, driven by some weird kid, and it's kind of a odd battle. And the final outcome of the race is kind of weird and bullshit, and I don't really like it as far as any of the races go in this series. It's one of the weaker races for various reasons,
That sucks.
but you'll see eventually. So
It sucks that it went out on a whimper. I started to watch MF Ghost, which is the current series that is running as a manga and running on TV. They just announced season 2, and it's cool. I hated hearing what happened to Takumi though. That is like, yo,
I don't know
what?
about that. So
I'll keep a lid
spoilers.
on it. I'll keep a lid on it. It's not terrible. It's just like, really, damn. But it's cool. I think that show is pretty dope. When the manga was beginning to be to run for that show, it was in the future. But I think we're kind of like caught up time wise in the year that it takes place in now. So, it is an interesting premise. I dig it, and I need to get back on it. So I will do that. But back to you.
Next up, we have Keroro, which is newer TV series that sort of reboot of the original Keroro Gunso, aka Sergeant Frog. I watched a lot of the original series, never finished it, and never watched any of this version, so I can't really comment on it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, at our college anime club, like Gundam was a staple for years.
Yeah, and it's all available now on SD Blu-ray.
Here in the States as well. Oh shit! All right.
Yeah,
That's great.
From
Okay.
from Discotech.
Oh, of course, that makes sense.
Discotech be
Doing a
taking
solid.
care of us, man. I love those guys, man. Shout out to
Yeah,
those
seriously.
guys. Good shit.
Next up, we have Persona 4: The Golden Animation. Did you see this one, Pedro?
Yes, I did. I reviewed it.
Nice.
It was weird. So the original Persona 4 covers the entire game. I liked it, despite very, very cheap animation.
Yeah.
And just because I like the world, I like those characters. So, the contention that I had with some of the readers was about, I enjoyed it while, honestly, like, yeah, it had a lot of problems. I was pretty open about the problems too, but I still really enjoyed it. The problem with Persona 4, the golden animation, is it only takes the new shit that they added into the PSP game, and that's the whole season, and they drag that out to 13 episodes. So for me, the pacing was like really off. It did look much, much better. This had a much higher budget. This was after, Persona had really started taking off, so they actually invested into it. But yeah, so I didn't like it because, yeah, this should have been at most maybe like 5 or 6 additional episodes, and this was stretched out to an entire core.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch Golden myself. I did watch the original run because it was available on Hulu at the time, so I blew through it and I loved it. I never played the game, but I was playing the shit out of Persona 4 Arena, so I wanted to kind of know what the backstory was. So I watched the anime. And
Yeah,
I
that anime will give you it'll give you the whole story. Like, it's a good version of that story.
I like the voice cast and everything, man. It's cool because I know they took a lot of cues from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The 4th series, Diamond is Unbreakable, was a huge inspiration for that particular game and the way it's like structured and the storylines and stuff like that. It was cool to see some of the similarities when watching this anime to that saga of JoJo's. But Persona's always like borrowed a little bit from JoJo's with every game, at least a little. So it was just
the personas themselves are basically stands.
Yeah, but I've got an affinity for the series from watching that and playing Arena. But I want. Did they ever animate 5 into anything yet?
Yep. No, that has a full. It has a full show.
Oh, I need to get on that then. So
I
that's
would
cool.
recommend it. I've heard. I haven't watched it, but I've heard that it was a good way to just like how they did before. It's a good way. And 5, like you can have that be like a proper 24 episode show.
Yeah, the one thing about Persona though is the music. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Last Surprise and the main theme from 4 as well are just fantastic songs, man. Those cats never fail. I can't wait for 6 whatever decade that comes out.
I mean, apparently, Metaphor Fantasia that is basically another Persona game. Just instead of it being like in modern times, it's supposed to be like a fantasy world, and they're kind of doing something different with it. But
Yeah.
I would not expect one anytime soon because if anything, they'll probably do whatever second edition of Metaphor with new characters and news. I mean, they've done it every single fucking game that they've ever done with Shin Megami Tensei. Like, it's like clockwork. They did it with Shin Megami Tensei 4. They did it with 5 on the Switch. Now on other consoles, they've done it with the Persona games. Every 3, 4, and 5 have had other editions that have come out afterward.
Yazi's back in your play. He says you are 100% correct. Good shit.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Space Dandy, which is one of 2 TV series that came out this year from Shinichiro Watanabe, and this one I have not seen. So anything you all want to say, fellas?
Well, I've never seen it myself. What's the other show? Is it even in our list that came out this year?
Terror in Resonance.
Oh, that's him. That's Watanabe.
Oh, I thought that was him.
Yo,
Sure is.
man, I'm slipping on my Watanabe. The last thing I watched of his was Kids on the Slope, which I adored. But I do need to watch Space Dandy and Terror in the Resonance, and the one that he did for Netflix with the 2 girls. I forget what it's called. But those are the ones I need to get caught up on, and I want to check out Space Dandy. The most I've seen is maybe 15 minutes of an episode on Toonami. Or sorry, Adult Swim, and that's about it.
I watched the first half of it. It was good, and the only reason I didn't watch the second half at first was that like I was gifted the first half of it, and like I thought it was like a fun, definitely felt like a Watanabe show, especially like in the comedy and sort of, and it was just very very funny. And I never got to the second half even after I got I bought it, but just got caught up. So probably maybe one day, if I'm going through his filmography and kind of want to fill in that blank.
Too much content, damn it.
Too much. There's too much shit out there, guys.
Too much.
Another
while we're
Persona
on this-
game I need to fucking play.
While we're on the subject of Watanabe, let's just talk about Terror in Resonance. We covered this back in 2014 on House Theater, so for our complete thoughts, go listen to that. Did you want to add anything about it, Pedro?
No, just really really good show.
Very unexpected for
Yes.
Watanabe, perhaps even more so than Kids on the Slope.
Wow.
It's a weird series. It is at all not what you would expect when you hear his name,
Yeah.
That
but
is
worth
crazy.
watching.
I gotta watch this because Watanabe is one of my favorite directors, man. I've been behind on him, and it's time to get caught up.
Well, I think that series unfortunately is Aniplex, so you may have to hoist a flag.
Hoist!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Get on them seas.
Time to hit the high seas, baby.
All right, next we have Buddy Complex, which is a show that I remember existing at this time, but not one that I ever saw. So, any of you see this one? Have any comments?
No, I got little to say about this. I heard it was talked about when it was on, but I don't know if it hit the lexicon like some other mech shows that normally do. Pedro?
No, never even heard of it.
It's just a mech show that's out there.
All right.
Well, this one people definitely know. The 3rd series of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. So I've only seen a little bit of JoJo. I will turn this over to you all if you have any comment about this series.
No, go ahead.
Well, shit. As most of you guys know, I'm a big JoJo fan. Watching this series finally get fully adapted was a dream come true, especially after 1 and 2 were put together into the same season about a year before. And then when they started to work on this series was so long, they split it into 2 seasons. And a lot of people say that 3 is kind of long and runs out of ideas. Stardust Crusaders is the 3rd series. But I enjoy it for what it is. I do think the later series are better than it, but there's a lot of things established in this show that that continue on in the JoJo lore and whatnot. But yeah, know that this series was inspired by JRPGs when Araki was working on it, the manga originally, and then to finally see the long trail of it finally going into being animated as an OVA in the 90s, and then a prequel OVA in the early 2000s to David Production working on this TV show. You know, a show that people said would never be adapted because it was too violent and there was too many other things going on. To finally see it on TV was really an awesome moment, and I enjoyed every second of it, man. It's a fantastic series. If you're going through JoJo, I hope you enjoy it, and the other series that come afterwards.
Which does that OVA cover? It can't cover very much, right?
It pretty much it does. It's kind of It's a truncated version of the manga. The back half is the first part of the OVA, which is 6 episodes, and it's when they arrive in Egypt to take on all the Stand Masters, based on the Egyptian tarot. But beforehand, there's 7 episodes that they did later on, which is the beginning part of the series that they just speed run through. That you don't get to see all the stand users. It's just like some of the major fights, and then they just go ahead. It's cool because Satoshi Kon worked on the original 6 OVAs, and you can kind of see his influence on it. I don't know if he worked on the new
I didn't know
one.
that.
Yeah, he did. He was like a lead animator on 2 of the episodes, or director or something on those episodes. But yeah, it was early on in his career too. But yeah, it's good stuff, and the David Production version is fantastic as well.
Okay.
Next we have Fairy Tail. This is the start of the anime adaptation of the popular shonen manga by Hiro Mashima. Vader and I, we used to read the manga and we watched this show. And I don't recall if did we do an episode about this on Chaos Theater?
Yes, we did.
Oh shit!
Did. So anime adaptation starts off a little rough. The animation is not amazing. A lot of people were mad about the way that they animated spells being cast, and a little less fan servicey than the manga, but it gets better as time goes. So, anything else you want to say about Fairy Tail?
I mean, it was, oh man, like especially with time, it really suffers from just a lot better shows kind of coming out afterward. And it's a fun read. But like I tried to go back to it a couple years ago, and yeah, I couldn't really do it, especially, and like I feel bad just based off the designs, but like, honestly, like One Piece kind of still dominates manga for me,
It's
and
still going.
yeah.
Well, here's a quick question. Go ahead.
No, I actually I interviewed him at New York Comic Con over 10 years ago now, which it's one of the few videos I have on my YouTube. So if you do go there, you see this guy, and let me tell you, when you see what he looks like, yeah, that's a dude that does Fairy Tail. He's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Man, well, hang on.
Another thing. Sorry, go ahead, Sobro.
No, I just want to ask. I read a lot of Rave Master, in manga format. I never really cracked open Fairy Tail though. Are they connected, or is this another series? They're just. I know they both have the same mangaka, but I was just curious.
Yeah,
if they are connected.
I don't think there's any connections between them. I think they're pretty disparate.
Gotcha. That's my only question.
Another thing people were not fans of, the fact that the manga designs, which looked very One Piece inspired,
Yes,
it really toned that down in the anime version.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell that he worked, like he was one of Oda's.
Yes. I was wondering
artists.
if it was
you can
one of his
tell. You can
guys.
tell.
Yeah. There's a lot. It informs a lot of his art style.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can have your own, if that's what your style is, and that's why Oda probably picked you, then, that makes sense. It's just kind of unfortunate for getting that and getting that not, having to be asked that all the time.
It's too funny.
Next, we have Knights of Sidonia, which we reviewed on Gundam back in the day, and this was Netflix cel-shaded anime series, also a manga adaptation. So you can go check out our comments on that. It's got some interesting concepts, and it's, I think, perhaps most notable for the fact people just don't like the animation style.
Yeah. It's early days for that
Which is a
type of
shame.
animation too. Yeah, it's a great show though. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
And on the subject of Mecha series, here's another one, Ald Noah Zero, which I think I saw the first episode of and was not blown away by it. And to me, this is in the same bucket as Buddy Complex. Like it's just a mecha show that came out, and I heard about it, but didn't really bother to go through it.
I didn't see it either, man. I'm dropping the ball this year. I watched a lot of shit in 2014. I'm sure we'll get to it eventually, but yeah, I didn't get to see this one. Yeah.
Well, switching gears to American shows, we have The Flash.
Oh,
This is the second show of the Arrowverse, starring Grant Gustin, who had previously been set up on Arrow as Barry Allen and seeing his accident where he gains his powers. And when this show started off, it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
I think the first 2 seasons were pretty solid, and boy, did this show just go really downhill after the second season. And
Yeah,
really.
I kept watching through Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was just so bad, and that season of The Flash leading up to Crisis was so bad that I stopped watching every Arrowverse show after Crisis except Legends of Tomorrow.
Whoa.
Shit.
Whoa.
Damn.
That's
man.
bad.
God, I'm trying to remember when I tapped out of The Flash. I think about season 3 or 4. Because I was actually Go ahead.
Yeah, I managed to somehow last to the first half of season 6. So
what?
You dropped off. You made the right choice. So
When live stream was still around, I used to do commentaries live for these shows, and I was doing this, Arrow, Agents of Shield, and whatever else, and it was fun. It was a good era. It was. I appreciate the CW for their commitment to this at first, because they were doing something. That started so small with Arrow, and then they had a nice backdoor pilot for the Flash in, I want to say, season 1 of Arrow, or season 2, I forget which, and that was such a cool introduction to Barry Allen and the actor that played him, and then they kicked off his own series the very next season, and it was just it hit the ground running, for lack of a phrase, but it was super dope. The second season was even better than the first. It was that one villain, I forget his name, but it turned out he was like this dude that was close to them the whole time, it was a cool show, man. I'm sorry it fell off. I like Legends of Tomorrow too. I meant to jump back on that, but if anything, I like to show how it began, and it held it down for a while. So maybe I'll finish it someday.
Ozzy says in the chat, Legends of Tomorrow, I only enjoyed the first season. No, sir, no. Season 1 is the worst season because it's all melodramatic, and you have shitty characters like Hawkman. Season 2 onward is great because that show decided to be as stupid as possible, and it absolutely embraced this idea and ran with it. And there was no idea that was too stupid for Legends of Tomorrow.
And they got rid of some people,
Let me put to you. Mm-hmm. Oh, they changed that cast on that show a lot. By the end, Katie Lotz might have been the last remaining original cast member.
Oh, man.
But this show was so dumb that the main villain of one of the seasons, I think this is season 3, was a demon voiced by John Noble.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're trying to figure out a way to stop him, and they need to recreate his voice to like access some spell or some magical artifact or some bullshit. And the way they decide to do this is to kidnap actor John Noble.
Oh yeah,
What?
jeez.
Oh
Man,
boy.
Yes,
it's so
it's such a
dumb.
Wow.
it's so stupid, but it's a show that knows that it's stupid and it dares to be stupid.
Wow.
It dares.
You
It
gotta respect
absolutely
it.
dares to be
You,
stupid.
you gotta
I
respect it.
absolutely respect it.
I'm a little impressed actually. Like that's wow.
Yes.
You know,
They went there.
there's literally an episode. There's literally an episode where Grodd goes back in time to try to kill Obama in college.
All right. All right. All right, you got me. That's good. That's pretty good.
Oh
Wow,
no.
that's actually really fucking good. Okay, I'm appreciating it.
Oh what?
It's so stupid. I loved that show so much. It's so stupid.
Oh my god. I wonder who they got to
Leaning
play
into
Obama.
it too. That's real good. That's real good.
So
Um,
it's insane.
Next up, we have the Netflix animated series BoJack
BoJack
Horseman,
Horseman, yeah.
which I've never seen. So, either of you have anything to say about this?
No, but I hear how good it is, man. And if for people experiencing depression, I've heard nothing but rave reviews from people about that show because it taps into that experience hard body, and just midlife crisis and stuff like that. I like Will Arnett quite a bit, so hearing his voice is always a cool thing. And this is one of these rainy day shows I need to tap into. But I've heard nothing but good things about BoJack Horseman for certain.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard great things, but you know, I go through my my daily fight with depression, so
Oh.
sometimes I don't necessarily want to see it.
You don't want to see a horseman be depressed?
Yeah, like that's the one thing that makes me like I think I could dissociate enough because it's a fucking horse, but you know.
All right, next we have the Fox DC series Gotham, which is absolute dog shit. This series is trash.
Yes.
Absolute trash. Initially, you know, when it was announced, it sounded like it was going to be an adaptation, roughly, loosely, of the amazing Gotham Central comic series
Yes.
by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka, which, if you have not read it, we talked about it on Chaos Theater. It's amazing. It's
Fucking great.
Batman from the point of view of GCPD, and it's a lot of small stories that really gets into the lives of characters like Bullock and Montoya, and it's very Batman adjacent. Some of the best stuff out of the Batman universe. Go get it. It's still in print as trades, and I was very excited for it. The show that we got was absolute garbage because it's about young Jim Gordon teamed up with Bullock, and just everything is off about this series because it's having almost every Batman villain coming into their own while Bruce is still a teenager because, of course, the first episode is about his parents getting murdered.
Right.
And, like, the start of his journey into becoming Batman, which apparently happens in the final episode. But this show was so bad that I stopped watching it about halfway through first season. It was so horribly written. There was an episode that Gordon had to go to Arkham, and Arkham is apparently so mismanaged that, like, the deranged patients pretend to be employees and just have the ability to wander around, and nobody knows who's an employee and who's a patient.
Wow.
And, like, this whole episode, Gordon is talking to someone who sounds like an employee, is actually just a patient.
Woof.
Then there's some episode about, like, attaching balloons to people and, like, sending them high up into the air to kill them, and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, this show is just utter fucking trash.
Yeah.
and I dropped it halfway through season 1. I never looked back, and everything I've heard about it subsequently, it just sounds like it got even worse, and I don't even know how it lasted um, 5 seasons.
I don't
I mean,
either, man.
The
Oh, good.
people like
the only
Batman.
thing I
That's
liked
the only thing
about
I
it
think of.
was Sean Pertwee as Alfred.
Yeah.
It was solid. I watched the show its entire first season. I was kind of left mystified at the show in general because the premise is so it's reaching because if it was just solely about Gotham Central, it probably would have been dope. But then they had to factor in Bruce Wayne and him like meeting a kid Catwoman and all this shit. And it's like leave Bruce out of this,
Little Kid
please.
Ivy, and
Yeah,
it's like Batman is really shoehorned into this thing and should not be.
exactly. His character never fit to me, and I maybe watched 1 or 2 episodes of season 2 and I tapped out. I just was done. I just didn't feel it, and this was in the age of like all the different Arrowverse shows and comic book shows on TV. Period, and I guess I needed to cut some of the fat, so I just dropped this off my list. But yeah, I wasn't really feeling it after even during season 1. I just stuck with it because just the completionist in me. But yeah, after that I was out.
Next, we have Star Wars Rebels, which this was the first thing to come out of Star Wars post Disney acquisition. So this is still even before Episode 7, and it remains to this day one of the absolute best things that Disney has done during their stewardship of Star Wars.
Agreed.
It's so good. It really sets the tone for the original trilogy, ties together so many elements from the prequels and the time in between the prequels and the original trilogy. And it's got a great cast of characters, of voice actors. Every single character is voiced by Steve Blum, in case you didn't know.
Yes.
No, that's not true, but sometimes it feels like it.
Or D. Bradley Baker. Not really.
Yes. Yes. Really good show. And, it was the inspiration for the less than stellar Ahsoka, which kind of feels like bad live action 5th season of Rebels.
Yeah.
Rather than its own thing. But that's neither here nor there. Anybody else have any comments on Rebels?
Rebels was a fantastic watch. I know its first season had a little rough around the edges, but I enjoyed it for what it was. But the show picked up momentum as with every season that hit, and then by the end, it just caught you in the feels, man. This is how the show ends, and the hope it ends with is pretty awesome. But there's some dramatic moments in this series, and they went places I didn't expect them to with these characters. I think we've talked about it on Gundam as well, but it's a fantastic show. Chris is absolutely right. It's one of the best things that the Disney acquisition brought about. And if you've never seen it, even though it's animated, no, that's a turnoff for some people. But it is some dope ass Star Wars, but some of the best lightsaber fights I've seen in the franchise. So definitely check that out.
My wife, who when it comes to Star Wars, is more on the normie side and doesn't care for like kids animated series in general. I convinced her to watch Rebels. She absolutely loved it to the extent that sometimes we would watch like 6 episodes in a row. So
Oh,
that's
shit.
how well done it was that it crossed that divide and got her so freaking hooked and
Nice.
invested in it.
Yeah, once it gets going, it fucking gets going, man. And
Sure
with it-
does.
and the storylines and the development of the characters, far beyond than what I expected. This is coming from a person who's only seen 1 season of Clone Wars, but I have seen all of the Bad Batch, which I enjoyed, and some of the other animated stuff. But yeah, this is probably my favorite animated anything that Star Wars has made. Is definitely Rebels.
So the first season was done by Greg Weisman, so you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, man, that guy is always fucking kicking off good shit, and then they take him off of it, or his shows get canceled. Man, Greg Wiseman is cursed. It's the poor guy.
And the last thing in our TV category is Constantine. This is the NBC TV series based on Hellblazer, the comic, and the character John Constantine. But unlike the Keanu Reeves movie, they actually got a British actor,
Yeah.
Matt Ryan. And This show was by David Goyer, which
Oh
already
boy.
tells you something.
Oof.
It was not very good, and they did a lot of retooling of the pilot. One of like the female lead was like chopped down to just being a guest star in that episode, and then dumped from the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And there's a story that starts to build up, and it goes nowhere because the series was canceled. The best thing that this series did was cast Matt Ryan as
Yes.
John Constantine because he is so fucking good in that role. And then he came back to the role in Arrow and then became a regular on Legends of Tomorrow. And he's voiced Constantine in various DC animated movies. He is just so fucking good as Constantine. It's like when I think of Constantine as a character, I see this guy like it's like yes, this is the same. It's the same. He was just
Yes.
literally the perfect casting for that character.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
he embodies that character so well. I watched it on NBC too. I watched the whole first season. I never got to see his appearances on Legends of Tomorrow, but I have seen clips of the animated stuff that he's been participating in, and I'm glad he continues to play the character to this day, and at least in some form. He's so good at the character. I agree with you 100%.
So moving into the movies category, this one's a two Yamato 2199 movies: Odyssey of the Celestial Ark and A Voyage to Remember. I had not seen either of these. One of these, I believe, is a side story that's set late during the first series. I know Yazi in the chat will correct
yeah.
us if we're wrong.
He sure will.
Yeah, I do have them downloaded via Methods, and I will be watching them eventually. And anybody have any comments on these two?
Not at the moment, man. I've been sleeping on Yamato for so long. It's funny. I never. Oh, God damn it, my phone. I've never got into watching Star Blazers when it was on syndication. It didn't even air where I lived, so I wasn't one of those kids that grew up with it being precious to me. But I love the mangaka behind it. I love his art style and whatnot. And I need to really sit down with this new series and give it the proper due that
You
it has.
definitely got to watch 2199. Although I know Yazi will tell you 2202 is not that great.
Yep.
I disagree, but that's neither here nor there. Next up, we have Tiger and Bunny: The Rising.
Another
Now,
Aussie favorite.
back in the day on Chaos Theater, we did cover the TV series, but we did not get to the two movies. This was the second movie, and it's an original story. I have the Blu-ray sitting on my shelf for many years. I have not gotten around to watching it, nor have I watched Tiger and Bunny 2, so that's on my eternal backlist to get around to eventually. Did you end up seeing it, Pedro?
Yes, I did. I saw the
What'd you think of
second
it?
one. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was really weird because like they did like a very truncated version of the show in that first movie, and so popping into the second movie, they're making these references and things that are like just kind of sometimes run a little bit counter to how the characters were in the show, and it was just because they're referencing the movie, not the 26 episode show that I had watched, so to get my interest in there. It's almost like an AU. But yeah, it was fun. Like it was a good time. If you liked the show, you would have liked it.
All right. Next, we have Persona 3, the movie, Chapter 2. So I will turn this one over to you, Pedro.
Yeah, so I have this on here just because it's my opportunity to talk very quick about Persona 3. That's my favorite of the franchise and shit. Like this was with everybody getting hyped over Persona 4 and it getting the anime. Like Persona 3 was the one I was like, oh, I wish that they had done this as an anime instead of 4 because I like the story in 3 better. But I actually ended up liking the movies. I thought the movies were like a really good way to get that story across, even though like across all 3 movies, they're doing basically a full year. Just the nature of how that story is structured, it kind of can work better as a movie, and it was absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like it's stunning animation, especially for the time. And yeah, it unfortunately I think it's another Aniplex show or Aniplex movie. So if you want to see it, figure that out yourself. but I would recommend it, and you know, especially fresh after like I had just finished playing the Persona 3 remake. Yeah, so it's pretty fresh in my brain.
Man. Well, I what was it? I had a question that's gone now. Shout out to Angel Wing Zero. Says I can't believe they put Yamato 21.99, 22.02, and started 31.99 on Crunchyroll, but completely skipped 22.05, which is essential viewing. I can't stand when they do that. When they leave out a series, maybe they just didn't want to license it, but that is unfortunate.
That's got to be so frustrating to have a show that's
Yeah.
very. I mean, even in the titles are delineating like, yeah, this one is supposed to go in between this one. Like, you know, you're not making this easy for anybody watching it.
Exactly. There's a question I wanted to ask. How many Persona 3 movies did they make? I saw they were up to 4. Or is there more
No,
than that?
if I remember correctly, it was 3 Persona 3 movies.
Oh, 3. Gotcha. I found an image
Yeah.
that said something about a chapter 4, but I wasn't sure what that was about.
That's sort of the extended release that Atlas always does.
Oh.
For Persona 3, they added another chapter that's set after, like after you're done with the game. It's sort of like this extended epilogue, and I don't know if they ever animated that. If they have, I need to go watch that. But like, I feel like I would have heard something about it. But
Yeah, you would definitely know. That's for
Perfect.
sure. But
Yeah.
no, that's all I got. Back to you, Chris.
All right, next up we have Saint Seiya: Legend of Sanctuary. I am a big Saint Seiya fan, but Saint Seiya as a franchise is kind of a mixed bag quality-wise, and this is a CG movie that I did not watch, so I couldn't tell you anything about it.
All right.
Probably big in South America.
Oh, definitely.
And next on our list is When Marnie Was There. This is a Studio Ghibli film, and for a couple of years was thought to be the last Studio Ghibli film until Miyazaki came out of retirement yet again to make the movie that became The Boy and the Heron. I didn't see this movie until recently, but it's a very sort of quiet character drama and with a supernatural twist. And I thought it was a very well made movie. Either of you all see this one?
I've not
No.
seen it. I need to sit down with it. The Ghibli movies, are they on HBO Max? Oh, sorry, Max. I believe
They are, because they have a content deal with Ghibli to stream all the movies, including Boy and the Heron. So you can go watch that on Max in the U.S.
I need to get
Nice.
on that then. My wife and I have been
Yeah.
wanting to crunch through some of the movies we haven't seen from Ghibli. So if they got them, then I'll definitely check this one out as well. Boy and the Heron I haven't even seen yet, so if it's on
Me
there,
neither.
I'll check that out too.
Hey, did you see this one?
I sorry, I gotta think. Did I? No, I actually haven't. That's one of the few that I haven't seen.
All right. Next up, we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This was one of the Phase 2 MCU movies, and we talked about this on Chaos Theater, and it still is to this day one of my favorite MCU movies, and it's just very well made. Too bad the Russos turn into dipshits later on, but that's not so much an issue in 2014 when this movie came out.
Yeah, no, I still think it's probably the high point of, like, as much as I do, love seeing everybody on screen and Endgame and shit like that, and that's a real big, like, fan servicey moment. Like, I still think that's probably the most, that's probably the most entertaining of the movies. I really liked Winter Soldier a lot.
Yeah, I honestly, it's my favorite Captain America movie. It might be my favorite MCU movie, to be quite honest. It's up there with, of course, Endgame and Infinity War. I love this movie. I think I've watched this one more than any of the other MCU films. Just the way it flows and see how much pays off from the original Captain America into this film. Just so much promises they made in that first movie come to fruition in this one, and to see it unfold. And the tone of this movie is fantastic. They really captured that '70s spy drama that they were aiming to emulate, and even with getting Robert Redford to be in this, it really holds up. I'm hoping, and from what I hear, it probably won't. But I'm hoping that Brave New World, the new Captain America movie coming out, is on this level or at least close to it. But from what I'm hearing, it's not getting good. It's not getting good test screenings right now. So hopefully they can edit that shit into shape. But we'll see. But yeah, Winter Soldier is a class act, man. Check that out.
Staying with the MCU, we have the original Guardians of the Galaxy, written and directed by James Gunn. We talked about this on Chaos Theater as well. Movie holds up still. I recently watched all 3 Guardians movies in a row, and it's very solid. It's the movie that everyone thought would end Marvel because, who's going to go see a movie about a talking raccoon in a tree? These are no-name characters that nobody knows or cares about, and well, look what it turned into.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not as good as Volume 2 and 3, but that's not a knock on it. They're better movies, but that doesn't mean that Volume 1 is a bad movie. It's a great space adventure, and it obviously expanded the bounds of MCU to more of the cosmic level. We saw a little bit of that in Thor: The Dark World, which is not a good movie. So it still holds up.
Yeah, this is the one I've seen the most, not because it's my favorite, it's just because it's just happened to be on all the fucking time.
Yeah. For me, I would, if I ranked them, I would probably say 3, 1, 2. I like 2 a lot. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. I think they stay a little bit on ego a little too long in that film. But the first one, to me, there's a spirit to this film and the way it's structured, and of course the soundtrack they put into this movie, exposing me to some songs I hadn't even heard until watching this film. Got me hooked on that. That's the soundtrack you can just continue to listen to quite a bit after you finish watching the movie. But yeah, it was such a wild property to pick up for the MCU. But I always knew it was gonna work because James Gunn is such a gonzo director that after seeing the trailer and what he showed at Comic-Con the year before, when they just started filming the movie, maybe they were in filming for 2 weeks when they showed off that trailer and it blew up the internet. I knew then that this movie was gonna do very well, and I'm glad it did, man. They casted this movie perfectly. Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon steals every scene he's in, but the rest of the cast, they're no slouches either, man. It's a movie series that's evolved with every film, and they helped to forge the cosmic end of the MCU completely. If it wasn't for this movie, we probably wouldn't have delved into the cosmic side all that much. So I'm grateful that this movie exists, and I look to see more cosmic stuff when they release another film that has that.
They figured their shit out.
Yeah.
You know that James Gunn had to fight for the inclusion of the music because Marvel thought that it was like pointless and unnecessary.
No way. I mean, they had like this stance on music in general up to that point. So when they realized that was like such a big selling point for this film, I think it caused a change, because then they started focusing on composers and getting in top flight composers in there. I mean, you got was it Alan Silvestri that did the Avengers, I want to say, but even after that, they started to get really good composers for their films and came up with a lot of good scores after this. So another reason to thank James Gunn for being so insistent on that. That's super cool.
So weird. This it's a marvel that any movie gets finished, right?
Yeah.
It with all the moving parts and everything that has to happen for a movie to come out. It's fucking insane. But then having to fight suits at the same time, very clearly don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
This was the promoter days too, so getting shit passed was tough.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that must have been real expensive too. The rights on that couldn't have been cheap.
Exactly.
These same geniuses also did not want the first Captain America to be entirely set in World War II because they thought that kids wouldn't get it. It's like, have you all ever seen a kid play Call of Duty or Battlefield? Like, what the fuck are you talking about that kids don't know what World War II is? Like, what is wrong with you people?
That's fucking insane.
This guy's dropping the ball.
They wanted it to be set half in the present.
I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Ooh,
it
that
was
would
the
have been
movie
bad.
it should have been. It was the movie it should have been.
1,000%.
And continuing with the Marvel theme, but sliding off of Marvel Studios, X-Men: Days of Future Past from Fox. I would say this is probably the best of the X-Men movies. Shame that it was directed by Bryan Singer because he's
Yep.
a fucking sex creep violator dude. But it's really good. It takes the rather basic story of the comic arc, which when I read, what I was surprised to see was only 2 issues, and really expands upon the concept, and it just hits on every level. It just works in every aspect of bridging together the first class crew with the original crew, and it's just a really solid movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, agree,
totally
man.
agree.
I gotta say that it was cool to see those casts merge together for this film, and them to pull that off. That had to be difficult. I think the third act of that film is standout, where Magneto takes on the
Mm-hmm.
the White House and the president and all that stuff was a fantastic confrontation. They pulled off very well with the Sentinels. Great film. Sucks about the director though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And staying still on the Marvel theme, Amazing Spider-Man 2 by Sony. This movie is so fucking dog shit. I hate this movie so much. I loathe this fucking movie's existence. I went to see this movie on my birthday, which just made it even worse.
No
But
fucking way.
have have you? And I know I said this to Peter when we talked about this on KS Theater, but Sobro,
Yeah.
have you ever watched a movie? As you were watching it, it's so bad that it makes you so mad
Yeah, this one was one
while
of
you're in the
them.
middle of watching it.
Yeah, the biggest
Yeah.
fuck you about this film is the last scene with Rhino. That shit was like, why are we doing this? Like, really? And it was just, it was a movie that kind of just, they wanted to put so much into it. It's such a franchise film because they wanted to set up so much out of this film, and it just failed on every level. None of the failures on the two main leads though. I love Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. I think he did an incredible job. I'm sorry that it kind of fucked him up to see this movie fail, and the ringer that he got put through personally. That a lot of that got a lot of he came to deal with all of that when he came back to film No Way Home, and I'm glad to see that was kind of therapy for him, coming back and playing the character one more time and ending on a good note. But this film is like, it's just so badly executed, and it's such a studio film that they had something special with the first one. The first one wasn't all that great, but it had promise. And then this movie came out and just destroyed all of that, and it's a fucking shame. It really is.
Well, what I especially hate about this movie is it was written by Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi,
Oh
who
Lord.
wrote the year before this Star Trek Into Darkness,
Oh boy.
which is also a movie that I despise and was like just actively mad at while I was watching it. And both of these fucking bullshit movies that came out a year apart from each other hinge on fucking magic blood.
Yes. This
I
this
hate this so much.
there's trends that pop up in Hollywood all the time, and that was one of those. And these two movies aren't the only ones that had it, but yeah, it's evident that these guys kind of have like sticking points in their writing. Alex Kurtzman, he's evolved a little bit with being
He's kind of
the head
redeemed
of Star Trek.
himself
Yeah,
as the showrunner of the Paramount Plus Star Trek shows,
Yep.
and he doesn't work with Roberto Orsi anymore.
Yep.
Orsi is a shithead and
Ooh.
also a 9/11 truther, and
Oh, no.
yeah, he seems like he was the worst writer out of that pairing. So it seems like Kurtzman is better off not working with him.
Yeah, looking
And
for him.
I don't think they worked on anything after this movie together.
That might have been the nail in the coffin for that partnership.
Yeah, well, it's fucking trash, and I hate it. And
man.
yeah, next we have How to Train Your Dragon 2, the sequel to the hit DreamWorks movie. I've seen this movie, never saw part 3. I honestly don't remember too much about this movie, but I remember enjoying it. So, any comments on this?
I saw it the once in theaters. The thing about the How to Train Your Dragon movies is you got to see them in 3D. they do so much to make that experience fantastic. I'd say out of all the 3D animated movies, it still impresses when it comes to their 3D presentation. I've always liked these movies, the world that it's set in and whatnot. I can't remember if this is the one with the main character's mother.
Yes.
Or this is the one with the mother. So this is the one that definitely has a lot of emotional moments. And I quite enjoyed it. 3 is great too. It's a really strong trilogy. For those who haven't seen these movies, I'm not gonna say it's Toy Story level, but it is a very decent quality when it comes to storytelling and how the story unfolds. And the third one ends on a really good note. I love how everything culminates at the end of the third one. But 2 is fantastic. It's a great sequel.
All right, next we have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I don't like apes movies. I hate every ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
Damn.
Wow.
So I got nothing else to say about this.
Oh shit! I only have seen the first 2 of this trilogy. I was with you. I don't like the original movies at all. I think the first movie has a good twist.
Tim Burton sucks too.
Yeah. Oh, and that Tim Burton one I saw in the theater. I paid money to see that.
Forgot
and
that existed.
and that's one of those movies that piss you off when you saw it. That shit was oof. But the first 2 movies in this trilogy were really good. Andy Serkis does a fantastic job as Caesar, man. He should have won the Oscar for this. The third one I heard is very good too. Not as good as the first 2, but they there's a lot of logic they put into these films, and I think they're a very good study on just playing with forces you shouldn't fuck with. And it serves as a prequel to the original '60s movies as well. So it's interesting. I enjoyed this movie, and it's not terrible at all. I think it's good.
I have no
All right,
interest
next we
in
have
seeing any of them.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the live-action reboot produced by Survey.
Oh boy.
Did not see either of these. I'm sure if Neo was here, he would be filled
Yes.
with gushing praise.
Oh boy. I saw them. I thought they were. I thought they were okay. The first one's better than the second one, and this one, what's her name? Megan Fox aside, I thought it was a fun attempt at adapting this. The most recent TMNT movie though is leagues better though. The animated one, that just came out.
Amazing.
Oh, I love that movie to death.
It's
But
so good.
this one's passable though. I thought this was okay.
All right, next we have Big Hero 6, which this was a Disney adaptation of a Marvel story, and it's a really good example of taking a absolute bottom tier story out of Marvel and just transforming it into a completely different context and ending up with a really good fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. It was plus a nice cameo at the end from a certain person, but I thought it was well cast and very inventive. And the dynamic between the main character and Baymax is adorable, for certain.
I fucking love it. It's fucking adorable. Like I love that goddamn fucking robot. I still have the mug I drink coffee out of every day is a Baymax mug.
I believe we did an episode on this one, didn't we, Pedro?
I feel like we did. I feel like we had to talk about it.
Yeah. Next up, we have the RoboCop reboot starring Joel Kinnaman and Michael Keaton. Dog shit movie.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
This is a garbage movie. This is one of those remakes that just does not get the fucking point of the original. And like everybody who worked on the screenwriters of this movie clearly did not understand all of the anti-capitalist messaging of the first RoboCop, and this movie is just horrible. It sucks. It's a terrible, terrible movie.
The older I get, the more I'm in wonder of the original film because of the themes that it covers and the content of story in that, and how much of a future shock that movie is because some of the stuff is coming true in real life. But this movie was bad because it just felt like a warmed over version of it. It didn't feel like it had any kind of spirit in it at all. I like Joel Kinnaman. Maybe I'm one of the few that does. I liked him since The Killing. Seeing him as Murphy
he's
in this.
great, and I love him in For All Mankind.
Yeah, man. That's another good show that he's in.
Altered Carbon.
Yeah, the look of him was slick, but it's like it just didn't have the texture that the original film had. Are the fucking villains, man? It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat the cast in the original movie, especially when you got my man Red playing Boddicker, man, and of course Dick Jones.
I work for Dick Jones.
And the one-liners that are in the original, again, and Paul Verhoeven is why that movie works, because he's such a unique director, and you watch his other films, you can see why.
Such a weirdo. He's such a weirdo.
He's
like
weird.
Like it's so good. Like most of his movies, and even as terrible as Showgirls is, like it's still immensely entertaining. Like I love that fucking movie.
He's gonzo as fuck. I have a suggestion for anybody who hasn't seen it. There is a 4-part documentary called RoboDoc. Watch that shit if you love RoboCop. The stories that come off that set are off the chain. Let me know what you think about the Oreo story. It's in like part 4 or 3 or 4.
Oh, I think I've heard about this.
That shit, I could not stop laughing.
I've heard about this.
So yeah, all I'll say is Robo wants an Oreo. That's it. That's it. You'll see the rest in that documentary, but it's time well spent. I promise you.
Like, that's good.
Yazi says in the chat, didn't the director of the RoboCop reboot make some good Brazilian cop movies? Yes. Jose Padilla, he directed the 2 Elite Squad movies. They're great movies, which is what makes this movie even more disappointing. But I'm sure since this was a pre-existing IP, that he was forced to operate within very narrow confines by the studio. So, yes, go watch Elite Squad 1 and 2. They were at one point on Netflix. May not be anymore. Very dark movies about police corruption and if you're into those kind of movies, if you like stuff like The Departed, this will scratch that itch.
Oh, nice.
Or Infernal Affairs or any of those things. So yes, go check those out rather than this garbage Robo. Next, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, a sequel to the original Sin City based on the comic by Frank Miller. I did not see this movie because by this point I had just really soured on Frank Miller and just did not want to consume anything related to him. So I got nothing on this one.
I got nothing either. I like the first one. I heard the second one was rough and got bad ratings, so I just told myself I'd see it on home video, and I never got around to it. So. Okay,
next we have Tusk.
Ooh.
By Kevin Smith. Oh boy, this is a movie of all time.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. Is it? Oh man, it's fun. It's fun. It's
so ridiculous. Like the concept of this movie is that he was high, and it was just a joke that he mapped out on one of his many podcasts,
right?
And then very quickly wrote a script and filmed it, and it is so fucking ridiculous, and so many people hate this movie, but it's so fucking bizarre that I just was entranced watching this. And when I went to see this movie, there was like one other person in the theater with me.
Didn't we see it together?
No, we did not.
Okay.
But I think it's worth mentioning that a friend of ours went and saw this movie while his wife was in labor.
What?
Yes.
Did a divorce follow?
No.
Oh, that's wow.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that. That is.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I think I can take a wild guess and know who you're talking about.
Oh,
yes. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
I'll never know who it is, but if it was Austin, I'm gonna laugh until the cows come home.
He's tusk pilled. That's what happened.
Tusk pilled. Yo, ridiculous.
My God, the thing that I like about this movie, right, is, and I thought it was like really funny, and I appreciated just the idea and being able to make it. Like, I think that was really cool. But like in the last 7 or 8 years, I've really learned to appreciate bad movies and really get my stance on Nicolas Cage completely turned around after I started getting into really bad movies and really appreciating just performances that fucking go there. And Tusk is doing that on purpose, but I feel like it's a good one. I feel it slots into watching Troll 2, watch Tusk. watch Vampire's Kiss. Like there's like a good slew of like really schlocky bad movies that just fucking nail it.
Man, I've never seen it. I've heard things though, but yeah, it's
Oh,
Kevin.
you need to watch it. Go
Oh,
Yeah.
go check it out when. Yeah,
oh my
it's an
God.
experience.
I like
So,
body
It's an
horror, and
experience.
Oh.
it goes there. It goes for some. It goes. For some real
Really
body.
goes there.
Yeah.
I
It
am
goes to unexpected places.
I avoid body horror like the fucking plague. Cronenberg, man.
don't-
Me and him don't get
I love.
along.
Cronenberg is fucking great. Yeah.
When he's on Star Trek
All right,
Discovery,
next week.
that's fucking great. But his films, I'm good. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Next, we have Interstellar by Christopher
Yes.
Nolan. We did an episode about this on Chaos Theater. We did all of the non-Batman Christopher Nolans.
Nice.
At the time, Interstellar was the newest movie. Movie is just it's a beautiful fucking movie.
It sure
I
is.
love it.
Incredible cast, amazing visuals. The story just hits on every aspect, and the soundtrack by Hans Zimmer is something that I still crank on Spotify all the time. It is
same.
It's just it. I won't say it's a perfect movie, but it's like it's just so fucking good that it hits all of the notes that an amazing movie should hit.
Like I feel like one of the criticisms of Christopher Nolan, and to some extent I kind of agree, is that like a lot of his movies don't really have like a soul to them. That they're like they're not really concerned about their characters and I mean I can understand it to a certain degree, but like Interstellar literally is centered around this guy missing out on his like kid's life and stuff, and really fun. Like I feel like this character is definitely the opposite of what a lot of people would normally expect from his leads.
Yeah,
Cooper is the most everyman protagonist of a Nolan movie.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
sure.
would say so. I agree with that. My issue with Nolan is you're right. I think his characters do come off a bit cold. With the exception of Cooper, I think Cooper is probably the most emotive character in any of Nolan's films. Nolan has an approach where he comes at it like a Swiss watchmaker, man. He's just like he's all about the logic behind his stories, even though sometimes the logic is flawed as fuck. Once he's set on an idea, he's gonna make it work no matter what. But Interstellar was cool. I love the aspect of that story where when you go on a different planet because of the size of it, or how long it takes to go around the moon, that time is dilated when you go on there, and what's minutes to you could be hours or days or years to the ship that's floating in space, and that to me was like a cool aspect. A lot of people have revisited this movie, and they point out that they believe that he is dead throughout the film. Once they go into space, that everything that happens after that, he's not alive for that. One of the key scenes that points that out is when he goes to see his kid as an old woman in the at the very end of the film, and nobody reacts to him at all. He's just there. It's like he's a visiting ghost. I don't know if that's true, but you can look at it that way. But it was interesting to hear that. But I had fun with this movie. I thought it was.
I think that's kind of a reach, and people just
Yeah.
trying to like no, because people do react to him, like when he wakes up and someone shows him to the reconstruction of his house,
Yeah.
and they talk about the space station. He's like, oh, then he's like, no, it's not named for you, it's named after your daughter. Like, no, that's a nonsense interpretation of someone who is trying to be way too clever. No, I reject that entirely. That's invalidated.
Yeah.
I feel
you on that.
like after people figured out the ring theory in Inception, like they started going maybe a little too deep, and then looking for like things like that. Where that one, if you look for it, you can find it, and this feels like a pretty big stretch.
Yeah, just to say this, Inception was my favorite film from Nolan for a long time until I saw Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's so good, it's so fucking good, man. But this movie is really cool. I would recommend it. That and The Prestige. These are two movies that don't get talked about enough from Nolan.
Yeah, Inception's still my favorite of his. It's one of
Yeah.
my favorite movies. Period.
Super good, man.
Next up, we have Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Eh.
With the Transformers.
Yes.
Shit movie. We talked about this
So
on
good.
Gundam. It's a horrible movie. It has 4 acts in it just because China paid lots of money to have a finale set in China. So we have a whole ass movie with 3 acts, and then suddenly we have a 4th act in China for absolutely no fucking reason.
Right.
Another garbage live action Bayverse movie
Oof.
where whole story is some Transformers MacGuffin is hidden on Earth and it's going to change everything about human and Transformer history. And you know, what can we say about this movie other than it inflicted upon us the concept of Romeo and Juliet cards?
Yes, it's
What?
great.
I
It's
spent
great
way too much time
contribution.
talking about that.
We joke about it on the show all the fucking time.
Juliet cards.
Yeah, the fact that this guy
Unless you
carried
know
a
about that,
card,
the better.
it's bad. It's bad.
Unless you know about it, the better. Like it's just we'll talk about it offline.
This
Okay,
is when
okay.
this is when the Transformers formula started to really get rank. As Chris pointed out, the MacGuffin and all that stuff, and I think people started falling off. By the time we get to Bumblebee, there's no audience for these movies. I blame this movie and 5 for killing the franchise because good movies have come out since, including Transformers 1, which nobody fucking saw. and,
Damn.
and it hurts to see because that movie is the best Transformers movie ever fucking made. So yeah, it is what it is. But this movie was ass. I can't believe I paid money for it. I wanted to walk out this movie when Kelsey Grammer got fucking turned into fucking wall paste. I was like, yo, Prime would never fucking do that. Prime would never. He is a straight up murderer in these movies. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make fucking logic anymore. Fuck these films. But yeah, that's me.
And if Neil were here, he would strenuously defend it.
He would.
But he's not, so we'll just shit all over it.
Yes. Open season.
Let's take advantage.
Yes. Sorry, Neil.
Next on our list is the Lego Movie,
Yes,
which
sir.
is the first of Lego movie series and stars Chris Pratt. And you know, it's a lot of fun. I have not seen all of the sequels. Did not see the Lego Movie 2. Ninjago's not really my thing, so I didn't watch that. Lego Batman was a lot of fun, and I do want to watch the Pharrell Lego Movie because it just sounds
I do
so
too.
insane.
It's
does
kind
sound
of
insane.
charming. It's kind of charming.
They have the nuts to do
you
that.
seen
I
it?
think is cool. I haven't seen it. No, I saw the
No,
trailer.
I haven't
though.
seen it. It was just the trailer. The trailer, I was like, this looks actually kind of charming.
It's a biopic. For those that don't know, Pharrell
just
did an
kinda
autobiography using the visual medium of Legos to tell his life story. So
Like the cynical part of me looks at that and I'm like, okay, Pharrell is very good at knowing what could reach like a mass audience and like, you know, being able to sell a whole album with it. Like it's, you know, cynically very smart. But also I really do love Legos and I think it's a really cool idea.
I'm right there
And
with
the
you.
first one is a great movie, so you know I
Yeah.
would say go check it out. And
That's when they were with Chris Pratt and
talked
everything.
about
by the
that
way.
on. I think we talked about that on Chaos Theater. It's hard to remember.
I don't know if we did a full episode about it, but we definitely talked about it.
All right, we have Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies. This
Oh, boy.
was the third movie of the Hobbit trilogy that nobody wanted, and you know it's.
If I could have booed in the theater, I would have been just the whole fucking movie. Like what the fuck is going on?
It's just
Like,
Jackson had
just
so much
so
leftover
bad.
footage. He just slapped this together, man. Is this the
No,
other?
I don't think. I think it was.
No,
it was like-
Warner Brothers said to him like, "Hey, we like trilogies. Could you actually do a trilogy?" After he'd already started filming.
Yeah, these movies just pretty much killed his love of filmmaking. it's kind of sad. I mean, I think he's coming back to make a new movie soon, but yeah, it didn't feel as inspired as the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. It looked great. Don't get me wrong. It did look incredible, but I don't feel these movies as much as the original.
I just
trilogy.
like the Hobbit movies are just like the movies are what I don't like about how modern filmmaking has gone. Is like I understand it's cheaper to use all digital sets. I understand that,
Yeah.
right? But one of the reasons, at least for me, that I can keep going back to Lord of the Rings is that everything looks practical. Yes, they're you know using special effects, and the special editions have definitely cleaned that up. But like I believe those spaces more than what was shown in the Hobbit movies. Like it did not look good. Like there's
Yeah.
one specific shot I remember in the Three Armies where somebody's riding like an elk or something, and it just looked like garbage, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
There's a
no,
lot
this,
of garbage shots in these movies that just do not
yeah,
look good. I think there is a good movie hidden in this trilogy,
yes,
and that someone could do like a Topher Grace
Oh yeah.
edit that like splices these three movies all the way down to just like one movie. That would be a good movie.
do one
Condensed
3 hour movie.
nonsense. Yeah.
One 3 hour movie, yeah.
There you go.
Somebody go do this, please, if you haven't already. Next up, we have The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. Saw this one. I enjoyed all of the Hunger Games movies, but just in general, I hate the trend that existed for a while that I believe we can thank Harry Potter for,
Oh yeah.
of breaking up the adaptation of the last book in a series into two separate movies just to milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the
we got any comments
shitty
on this one?
pacing. Like like you could really like I didn't watch these until actually about like a year and a half ago. I watched my wife and I watched them whole series like in a week. Like we just nailed one movie every night. And then getting to this one, like those all like the first two movies, like they move, like shit happens, right? Like shit is happening all the time. There's all this intrigue, and then everything just comes to like this real halt in this movie where everybody is just trying to figure out how to make everything last longer so that you can extend the last couple scenes in the second movie. And it's just like a real shame. It's another one of those examples is that you could cut these movies down into one really good 3 hour movie.
And Deathly Hallows definitely exhibited that as well. Of like, oh, this
Yep.
is just like
Although in that movie's
Last
defense, that book was huge. So I think
Yeah,
that,
and I'll say this that like that last section, like especially the Battle of Hogwarts, is consequential enough where like
Yeah.
okay, I can see you doing that. I don't agree with it because learn to edit, but
yes.
like I get it. I didn't feel like that at all granted I haven't read these books, so I don't know, but
Right.
like everything just seemed to like really just get a little too in depth when everything was moving at a good clip before.
I agree. I only seen the first two movies, so I can't speak on this one all too much. But yeah, if anything, I would wonder why they split it, and it looks like it kind of killed the flow of the story by them doing it. So, what a shame.
Next up, we have Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, and this is an adaptation of a Japanese light novel. This is an amazing movie that unfortunately bombed theatrically, but really made up for it and found a second life on home video and just became really popular to the point that they're now going to do a sequel. And this is just a really well-made movie that just works, and
Yeah.
good casting. Tom Cruise does well in this role as this guy stuck in a time loop who has to try to figure out how to defeat these alien invaders, and it's just a great sci-fi action movie. Emily Blunt, amazing as usual.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I got the sniff looking at this trailer. I'm like, this looks interesting. Even if
Yeah.
it's not good, it might be interesting. And so, like going in and watching it and just being like, okay, I'm like, I could, yeah, they actually got these concepts to work, and like this movie looked great. They looked cool. Like those monsters looked fucked up. Like the suits looked fucking great. Like they nailed, especially compared to The Hobbit, like they actually nailed the look of what they were going for and didn't just cut out at the end.
Yeah, man. It's a Groundhog Day meets what's it War of the Worlds in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I always thought that All You Need Is Kill, which is the name of the original light novel, would have made a much better title for this film than Edge of Tomorrow, which sounds like a damn soap opera. And I don't know why they didn't go with the original title. The shock value of that name would have put butts in seats, especially when they found out that Tom Cruise was in it. The first and second trailers for this film are magnificent. And watching this movie, this is probably my favorite film of 2014, to be honest with you, next to Winter Soldier. Like I watched this shit. I watched this movie a ton of times, especially when it came out on digital. It was like, yo, we're going. I would watch this once a week for a little while. But it's a fantastic film with a great premise, and if they make that sequel, I'm down to see it.
Well, even just
It's
the
funny
line
you
"live,
mentioned.
live, die, repeat." Like
Yeah, that's so dumb.
that's a
It's funny
much
you
better
mentioned
name.
that. That's the thing. When they put it out on Blu-ray, they put on the front cover "Live, Die, Repeat" in really big font point, and then underneath it, much smaller, "Edge of Tomorrow."
Yeah, right. They could not decide on that movie's name when they released it on digital. It's like, guys, just stick with what you chose, because at this point, all the marketing you've done for this movie has sucked.
Yeah.
This movie died. It's another tragedy like Transformers One, where Transformers One had a bad trailer. This movie had a great trailer, just a bad name and terrible marketing. And I watched that happen in real time, and I saw that nobody went to go see it 3 times I saw it in the theater.
I was the only
Practically
person in
empty.
my theater when I saw it.
Wow, that's a shame. I was
Yeah.
one of like 5. The last showing I went to go see it. So
Our final movie into this category is Snowpiercer,
Hell
starring Chris Evans. This is a fucked up movie, and
Yeah.
if you don't like hearing about fucked up things that happen, and this movie's not for you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
Directed by the same guy who did Parasite later, and
Yeah.
it's such a fucking amazing movie, and you see a lot of those concepts in here, and it also has some really great fights, such as the blind tunnel fight, where the only light, like as they're on a giant, basically the world's frozen over, they're on a giant train. Don't ask questions. Everything is broken down by financial class and everything, and Chris Evans has got to get to the train. Got to get to the train.
Gotta get there, baby.
Got to go through, baby.
You find out that he does some dirty things on the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that train. Ooh, makes the worst come out in people.
Yeah, man. When you
Yeah,
find out
literally. So
when you find out what they're eating is like one of the worst things. One of the worst things ever, man. I want to say that this might be Bong Joon-ho's first international film. Like he did a lot of
I think so.
classic movies in Korea or South Korea before this, but this is I think his first movie with an international cast. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
shock to see, man. I love this film. The way it's shot. It's really shot on a low budget, but they get so much out of it that I'm really impressed with what they had and the cast in it. I think it's one of Chris Evans' best movies outside of Captain America. He really had a good year. Him and Stanley Tucci had a good year this year when it came to booking movies that did well. So it's cool, and it's a nice dystopian film with a poignant premise and a thoughtful ending. I like this movie from start to finish. I need to watch the show that's on now, the TV show adaptation of Snowpiercer, which has been running for a minute. So
Yeah, it's like 5 seasons.
oh wow, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
I thought it was on its first. Fix my face.
Oh no,
But,
it has been going for a while.
yo.
this movie is also notable that Harvey Weinstein tried to get his disgusting mittens on this movie and butcher it.
Oh no.
Thankfully, that did not happen.
Oof,
Jeez, man.
yeah.
That'd have been a tragedy.
Yep. So moving on to games, which we're going to try to get through at a bit of a faster clip.
Yeah, true.
GTA 5, the game that just won't go away.
No, man, it's been cooking. It's been going strong.
So much money, Jesus.
I've never played it because I was just so annoyed with 4 that just kind of ended me and GTA, although I might come back for 6.
Yeah.
But I just never had any interest in playing 5 or the bajillion ports that it's had in the time since it's come out.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've never been a Grand Theft Auto guy. My brother has, but me, I like watching clips, but never really dove into it. 6 looks pretty interesting though, but 5 has definitely got some mileage on it with all the DLC, the online play, and whatnot. It's pretty impressive how much they've been able to keep that going.
Yeah, I'll buy 6 and never finish it, but just run around the world.
Yes.
Doing Miami things.
Yeah, I'll do Miami things. It'll be like I'm visiting home without.
It'll feel like
know,
you're coming
the actual-
home. Yeah.
Yeah, without the actual garbage bags.
Yeah. Next up is Shovel Knight, the debut game from Yacht Club Games. This is a Kickstarter success story. Pedro and I backed this game when it originally
Yo.
came out on the 3DS.
Nice.
It's since been ported to many consoles, and
Everything.
Yacht Club, small studio made up of former WayForward developers, and they split off and did their own thing, and they put out Shuttle Knight and a lot of related properties, and they were mining that 8-bit nostalgia before everybody else did, and it's just, aesthetics aside, it's a really solid platforming game. It's
Yeah.
just a very well-made game that they have tweaked with all the successive iterations, and it's just a really good game because there's so many games of this type that are just nostalgia bait,
Yeah.
and they're going for that 8 or 16-bit look, but the gameplay is lacking. In this
Absolutely.
case, the graphics are irrelevant. It's just a really good fucking game that happens to have an old school aesthetic.
Yep.
It's
Very
got
much, yeah.
it's got really great gameplay too. I don't have a lot to say about this because I've only played like the first 2 stages, but I thought it was fun and I like the aesthetic, and they really paid attention to how classic games work when they came to applying a lot of the stuff we've experienced in older games into this one. I thought they did a fantastic job.
Next, we have Super Smash Brothers 4, which obviously was not called that because it came out for the Wii U and the 3DS, and it was called Super Smash Brothers for Wii U and Super Smash Brothers for 3DS. So I'll turn this over to Pedro. What do you want to tell us about Smash 4?
I really lost interest in Smash after like the Wii one. I played it with parties and stuff like that, but it just there was something
Brawl
it just
was
didn't
bad.
feel. Yeah, it didn't feel good. When this came out, like I was like kind of excited for it again, and really hoping that like it could like kind of like I'm also not like a melee purist. Like I'm fine with. Like I don't know, like I guess I don't treat Smash Brothers as seriously as like a lot of other people do, but like I'm a little bit serious with it, and this kind of like straddled the difference between being easy to kind of go into and not feeling like there's levels of randomness and having to do very very specific glitches and manipulation like wave dashing and shit like that. Like I feel like I could have a good time with it without having to resort to that. And obviously, if you go further into the professional circuit, people find their own ways around it. But at least I felt more comfortable around this one than I ever felt with the Wii one.
Yeah, man, this was the year of the Wii U, man. That system didn't do very well, but it had some bangers this year, including this one.
Yeah.
This game was pretty feature rich too. I've never been good at Smash Brothers, not even for a second. But I appreciate this game for being as much love they put into this, and all the DLC characters they put into this, the guest characters in this game. It had one of the best rosters, and eventually it would evolve into Ultimate on the Switch, which is like, this is the most
That's
feature-rich
great, yeah.
fighting game I have ever played, and to see how it has taken off from where it started in 2014 to now is phenomenal. Again,
Terry fucking Bogard, man. I got Terry Bogard and
Dude.
Smash Brothers. Like
Yo.
I ain't picking anybody else.
I play this game for 5 minutes, I get pissed. All the time, because I suck so hard. Like all my 2D fighting game training just does not prepare me for this game. But I
Hey,
appreciate.
play Tekken if you know how to play Tekken.
Oh, I
you
love
play
Tekken. I
as
play the shit out
Kazuya.
of it. But this game specifically, though, it's great though. Single player, I think it's fantastic. And shout out to Sakurai, man. He really put his blood, sweat, and tears in this series.
Yeah. And like what was interesting was the 3DS one was actually like pretty feature. Like maybe obviously you're not going to get the same graphics and everything like that, but there was a lot to do with that.
It was
with
a
that
well-made
platform.
game.
Yeah, absolutely.
He, I feel like he definitely did hit Icarus Uprising to learn that system in anticipation of doing a Smash on it.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that makes sense.
Like you could almost
Next up-
see his relief when he heard the Switch was combining portable and console. He's like,
It's like I don't have to do two again.
Oh, thank
God, I
Have
won't
one,
die.
What?
one matching the limitations of the other.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Next up, we have Bayonetta 2. This is the Nintendo-funded sequel to Sega's multi-platform Bayonetta from the previous generation. This one launched on Wii U, but has since been ported to Switch. So, Pedro, tell us about Bayonetta.
So this is me completely admitting I was wrong. I was so fucking salty when I heard that Bayonetta 2 was coming out on the Wii U because I wasn't particularly impressed with the Wii U. So I was like, oh, I might not get it. And then this came out, and it's just like, God damn it, they're putting out on this what I perceived as being like a little more underpowered console, and like I wanted them to like really get I really wanted just the graphical fidelity to get a lot better and shit like that. And then I ended up getting the Wii U as like part of a Black Friday deal with a couple games. So like
Oh yeah.
it ended up kind of making sense. Like, okay, I'll pick up Bayonetta 2, and I was wrong. Like Bayonetta 2 is fantastic. It is one of the best character action games I've ever played. Like just everything from like the music, like the actual gameplay itself, the visuals, like the character design. Like it's such a fun fucking game.
Yeah, man. The Wii U was such a poorly conceived system, but its games was its strength, man. I that was a special time in gaming for me. I actually fell back in love with gaming because of the system. Bayonetta 2, I only got to play a little bit of it, but I've always loved this series. I love the first game a lot, and Platinum, they put their ankles in this one. So I'm just glad that Nintendo helped to sponsor this. What sucks is that you'll never see it ported on any other system, maybe PC.
Yeah,
But
it's rough. Yeah.
but yeah, between that and the Twin Snakes, kind of hurts. But other than that, I love the fact that we got 3 Bayonettas, and that might be all the Bayonetta we ever get. So enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, Bayonetta 3 was not. I did
Oh.
not enjoy it very much. I was
damn.
very disappointed by it.
Man.
Next up, we have Dark Souls 2, which all I have to say on this is that it's Dark Souls 2. I've
Yep.
never played a Souls-like in my life. I have no interest in them, and that's probably not ever going to change. So,
I played
Anybody?
Elden Ring for 5 minutes, and I was done. So I've never really dived into any Souls game, man. I like hard games, but not like hard to the point where it fucking makes me have a fucking conniption. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. But it's
Hard
cool.
pass.
It's got its audience, and people fucking play the shit out of them. So I'm not gonna knock them. But yeah, shout outs to Dark Souls 2.
next we have Rayman Legends, which is the 5th and final, as of now, Rayman game. I've never played a Rayman game at all. I heard this one was quite good. I got nothing else on this one.
Yeah,
I don't-
same.
I don't got much to say. I've dabbled in them, but I've never stuck around, so I can't really say much.
Next, we have an entry in Falcom's extremely long-running Legend of Heroes series. This is Trails of Cold Steel 2. I know that out of this very long series, that the Cold Steel sub-series is particularly well-liked. Wanted to play them, but my backlog is just so big that it's like I don't think I can justify jumping on these 4 games.
Yeah.
So maybe someday, but not now.
Damn. Yeah, I love Falcom's older games, but I've never delved into anything that's made past 2000. So I saw that this game was on the list, and it looks interesting, but I've never got the chance to try it out.
Next, we have Destiny, the original. And I have no interest in live service looter
No.
shooters, and that's definitely not going to change. So thank you and goodbye.
I think the coolest thing I heard about this game was when what's the actor's name that played the chief in The Wire, when he passed,
Lance Reddick.
Lance Reddick, thank you. I knew it was Lance. I
Yeah.
want to say Lance.
Had a
Henderson,
memorial
and I
for
knew I was
him
wrong.
in Destiny 2.
They had a memorial for him in Destiny 2 because he was like one of the main voice actors in the game and played a character that
Yes.
a lot of people liked. And I thought that was the coolest thing. I never saw that in a game ever until then. So yeah, it was that's the best thing I could say about Destiny. Other than that, I never tried it.
We have coming up next Broken Age, aka the Double Fine RPG on Kickstarter. I've played a decent amount of Double Fine games, but never this one. Have you, Pedro?
Played maybe the first like couple hours, or I think there's like 5 acts or something like that, and I played like the first one and then completion and almost the end of the second act. It was all right, I don't know. Like I guess I've constantly tried to get into like those old style, like point and click, and sometimes they can get me, but it just I don't know. It just didn't grab me.
I've got nothing to say about this. I've never played it.
I think the last Double Fine game that I touched was Costume Quest 2.
Yeah.
which is a very long time ago.
Damn.
Now, next up is a game that I definitely have played
Oh.
multiple times, and that is The Wolf Among Us.
Oh,
This
shit.
is the Telltale game that is a spin-off of the excellent Fables comic from Vertigo back in the day.
That's right.
And it's about the big bad wolf as a noir detective investigating mysteries amongst fables who are all of the fables that you know of, Snow White and Prince Charming, and they all live in secret in New York, and they have their own lives completely outside of the view of what's their word for muggles?
I don't remember.
So yes, Wolf Among Us, noir story with the big bad wolf as a detective. Really good story. Got adapted into a comic, which is interesting, given that it started off from a comic.
Right?
And it's a self-contained story, completely separate from the grand narrative of Fables, so you don't have to know anything about Fables to play it. Telltale was working on a sequel when they went under, and the new Telltale, which is a successor, they started working on the sequel again, but it's going to be entirely new and not use anything from that first version.
Oh.
Don't know how that'll turn out.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed Wolf Among Us, and it's a solid effort from Telltale from before they died.
Damn.
Oh, speaking of Telltale, we have The Walking Dead Season 2. You know, I have not played this one because Season 1 broke me at the end.
Oh, shit.
And, you know, there is obviously a complete collection of all of their seasons of The Walking Dead. If you, you know, like diving into it, I might do that at some point. And
Yeah.
way back in the day on Chaos Theater, we interviewed Clementine's voice actors. So go check that out.
Yo, that's what's up.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I've never
One of the
gotten
better interviews. Shout out to Dalo for having put that together.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
Props
thanks,
to
man.
Dollar for that. I when it comes to Telltale games, I never really dove into them. I know that my boy Mr. Lee Majors, he played the shit out of those games. So if anything, props to him. I would watch him play those sometimes, and they seemed like really fun to play. So I missed out.
Yeah, the second season was all right. It, you know, like I guess it suffers sort of the same thing that the show suffered, and just the how do you ratchet up the misery, and you know, poor Clem has to make a really fucked up decision at the end of the end of this one. Real big surprise there, right? Like, you know, and then she sees more people she travels with dies. Like, oh boy, what a surprise! You know, so some of the surprise involved was, you know, wasn't as strong as the first season, and you know, I ended up going with a really grim, dark ending for that. So that really kind of ended the series for me.
Damn.
And sticking with Telltale again, we have Game of Thrones. This is a spin-off set during the TV series and has quite a few actors from the TV series reprising their roles. It's about a minor family in Westeros who is trying to navigate all of the, you know, political waters and try to like restore their name and power, and how it intersects with the main story. I think it's like either concurrent to season 2 or after. I'm not sure. I enjoyed the game when I played through it, but I definitely had the feeling that Telltale's engine at the time, the Telltale tool, was really showing its age. This game was kind of rough. And, you know, Wolf Among Us was able to kind of paper over that because of the like cel-shaded comic look. But yeah, that engine is like really showing its age in Game of Thrones.
Damn. Well, it's nice to know that it actually takes place in the world of the television show. I'm not sure if it's any canon in there, but that's super cool.
And they did announce a second season, but that was canceled when the original Telltale went under, and the new one came back and said, we're not doing that. So
fuck that.
There you go.
They literally would still be using the Telltale tool if they were still active.
Exactly.
So You know.
Yeah. Next up, we have the original Titanfall, which I did not play because that was an Xbox exclusive. Titanfall 2, very different story, but that's not part of 2014. So, anybody have any comments on Titanfall?
Nope.
Shout out to my boy again, Mr. Lee Majors. He used to compete in this game all the time on his stream. I would play every so often. I'm trash at first person shooters, and this game is no different. But I appreciated the mech aesthetic and the gameplay. I thought it was the coolest thing about the game, of course. Besides all the parkour you can do with the character outside the suit. But interesting. I heard part 2 is a big disappointment, but part 1 got some shine when it came out. It was cool.
Part
to
2
see
is
while
great.
it was Is it now, man? Because I know some people hate that fucking game compared
Its
to the
story
first
is
one.
really fun.
Man, I guess single player is probably where it's at in that one. But online play, it was like all my friends were complaining about that shit from start to finish. But yeah, it's Titanfall was a cool game. The times I played it, I wish I was better.
Yazi asks, Game of Thrones, if this was the only game. No, there was, I believe, another game that was a more traditional RPG, but if I remember correctly, I heard that it was pretty bad.
Damn. Oof.
Next up, we have Yoshi's New Island, which came out on the 3DS. It's meh. It's all right. The best Yoshi's Island was the original. That's a game that is very, very, very hard to top, and none of the subsequent Yoshi's Islands ever did. So play the original. It's on Nintendo Switch Online.
My most hated fucking Nintendo character is Donkey Kong and his fucking brethren. But Yoshi is a close second. I hate that motherfucker so much. I can't stand. I am not a Yoshi fan at all.
I hate this cute little green dinosaur.
How dare you?
Look, man. Flames?
How dare you?
Flames come out of my face when I see him. He's abandoned me so many times in most of the Mario World.
You are out of line. You are out of line. You are out of line. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Out of line. No.
That dinosaur can die in a fire.
Moving on.
Yes.
Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. This is the first part of Ground Zeroes. Kind of a glorified demo that Konami sold for a lot of money. I feel like they were just getting tired with Kojima at this point and are like, for God's sakes, just let us put something out to make some fucking money off of this.
Damn.
Yeah,
this is just basically the first mission of Metal Gear Solid 5, and we had in the following year the release of the Phantom Pain, which had many problems of its own, as we know, with Kojima parting ways with Konami. And you can get the complete edition now that has Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, but even that's not the complete story because, boy, if you go digging into Act 3 of Metal Gear Solid 5, you'll find that it's a very incomplete game. Sadly,
it's done. It doesn't have the finale. There's no ending. There's literally no fucking ending. There's the worst cliffhanger that they leave you on, and they never resolve it. You have to go either buy the special. We were talking about this before we went live.
That's
right.
You
either have to buy the special edition or go on YouTube and look up the incomplete final video of what's supposed to happen and how that links into the future titles. The idea behind it, then this is the part that's like even more frustrating, and this is kind of goes more into issues with Phantom Pain as a whole. Like, there are some really great ideas in there and some really interesting, it's very much like Kojima, interesting concepts. Man, very lucky to have surrounded himself with people that can interpret his weird bullshit into like good experiences.
Yes.
And this has like one of the coolest ideas that again doesn't make any sense especially in the context of the entire story, but it's a cool idea and it's ruined by it being just incomplete.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the gameplay's solid for what it is.
Yeah.
It's great.
Until you start getting into the repeated missions in Act 2. But
the incomplete part.
Still worth playing. Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. You know, if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan. Um, Next up, we have Infamous Sun, which is an early PS4 title, part of the Infamous series, and new protagonist with a new set of powers. Never played it. I enjoyed the first two Infamouses, so that's all I got to say on it.
Yeah, got nothing else.
I never played it, so I can't say anything.
All right. Next, we have Elder Scrolls Online. I, love Elder Scrolls.
Oh,
Have it ever since Morrowind. And I played the beta of this. Did not really like it. I assume it's gotten better since then, and obviously they've expanded the geography of the game so much since launch, but I just don't have interests in MMOs. I just never have and never will. So probably not a game that I'm going to be revisiting.
yeah. I can't say anything. I haven't messed with the MMO since Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast. So
I don't like MMOs, so
there you go.
All right, next we have Mario Kart 8,
Yes.
which originally launched on the Wii U and then
did
was
it.
later ported to the Switch as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And, at the time of its original Wii U release, it sold something like a paltry 5 million copies, which
Paltry
was
for
roughly
Nintendo.
about half, which was like roughly about half of the Wii U owners.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing game. But then when it got ported to the Switch,
There you
it
go.
became not only the best-selling Mario Kart game of all time, it is by far, by very, very far, the best-selling Switch game of all time.
Oh, I believe it.
yeah.
I believe it, man. Going back to when it was on the Wii U, man. That's what we cut our teeth on for the Wii U when we were streaming a lot on Fighters Ready. We got countless hours of us playing Mario Kart 8 from way back then. Go ahead.
This is one of the reasons why I think in some years I think the Wii U is going to get some of its flowers, is because
Yeah.
a lot of the games that came out for the Wii U got moved over to the Switch and did very, very well, which means the fundamental gameplay is what was busted. It was literally the console itself.
It was the Nintendo system with the least amount of shovelware I've ever seen. Those games had to sell on the strength of gameplay, and Mario Kart 8 is no different. The DLC was phenomenal. I bought every pack for that game, and then bought Mario Kart 8, and then the deluxe on the Switch, and then bought all the DLC for that too. So it's strong, man. They brought back so many great tracks. And the online play sucks, but it's still it's still fun regardless.
That DLC was an amazing value on
Yes.
the Wii U
Boy, was
because
it.
it pretty much doubled the size of the game. And then when they released Deluxe, all of that was included from the outset, which,
Yes.
other companies like, say, EA would make you buy that DLC all over again.
Boy,
But
would
Nintendo
they.
did not. And they added, new characters. And then we had, last 2 years, the expansion pack, unexpected for a game that was already so old, that added, was it like 12 new cups?
It was
much
basically an entire new game's worth of content.
Doubling the game again, and I think right now the game has close to 100 tracks, which makes it basically the ultimate Mario Kart game.
Yes.
And if you think about it, there has been a new Mario Kart game on every system since the original Super NES.
Yeah.
We never got a Mario Kart 9 on the Switch, and honestly, I don't think we ever will, because how do you surpass Mario Kart 8?
It's
Oh,
gonna
I
be
mean, no,
difficult.
you got Mario Kart 9. It was those DLC tracks. Like
Pretty
that's
much.
literally
Yeah.
an entire game's worth.
We did get Mario Kart World Tour or whatever it's called on the mobile,
Yeah, fuck that.
which they took those tracks and put them in as DLC on the Switch Ultimate as DLC tracks, which I thought was super cool.
And they're fun tracks too. Like
and
it's
they're
like
fun
it's not like they just shoveled them over without like taking into consideration. Like they put some work in there.
I do have some qualms about some of the track designs, but because sometimes it's easy to get lost. If you make a wrong turn, it's like, yo, what the fuck is going on? But ultimately, yeah, man, that game gives you back so much. in return. I personally have the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, so the deluxe one where you actually get the DLC as part of it. So at least while you have a subscription, so that's how I'm able to play those tracks. But it's fantastic, man. From way back when it was on the Wii U to now, that game has held up, man. And hopefully the Switch 2 is backwards compatible as rumored, because I still don't want to stop playing this game even when the Switch 2 comes out. So
Yeah, I think you're gonna be good.
yeah, I hope so. But back to you, Chris.
All right, Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn. It's a game that exists. I never played it. Let's
Me
move
neither.
on. Far Cry 4. It's a game that exists. I never played it. Let's
Yes!
move on.
Let's move on.
Five Nights at Freddy's 1
Oh.
and 2. I've never played these games, but I know that they are hugely influential and have developed a huge following. Did you touch these, Pedro?
No, it never. Like again, I like horror stuff, but like I don't know. Like it was first on PC, and I don't have a PC. And then even once they started becoming more available, by then I was already like, yeah, no, not really interested.
These games touched me though. I was forced to play them on stream because people would buy them for me in my Steam account and say, "Man, we're sponsored stream. You should play this." I fucking hate these games, both of them. All the games, hate them so fucking much, dude. I can't even talk. I'm so mad.
I would not
I hate
make
them. I'm gonna just
that's
leave
so
it at that.
fucked up.
I hate the fucking games.
I would-
You can run back the footage. It's on fucking the Shid Station channel on YouTube. You can hear me fucking be mad about it when I'm playing that garbage. I would
not force somebody who doesn't like horror to play like something like Silent Hill 2. Like
I know.
it's something that's all jump scares.
Yazi
like, no.
in the chat doesn't like it either, so you're not
Yeah.
alone.
I'm a big chicken shit, and Ed writes, "Oh right, I forgot about the Era SPR streaming." Yeah, bro, it was the worst. It's so bad. I hate those.
I might have to
fucking
go
games.
dig up those videos.
You
just
might have
for
to
the
Listen,
entertainment
sometimes
value.
you don't play horror games to feel good. Sometimes you play horror games to feel bad.
You'll
okay?
see me jump and scream like a bitch because the camera's on me in those videos. You can see my fucking face. So yeah, man, I fucking hate them. But it's got a big fan following. I mean, I don't know what they're up to now in games, but they've got movies coming out. And yeah, man, Scott Cawthon is making hand over fist off of this stupid fucking premise, man. Fuck.
It's fucking crazy.
Oof, keep it.
Next we have Transistor, so I'll turn this one over to Pedro.
Yeah, I'm a huge Supergiant Games fan, and this is by far my favorite of their games. Just the visuals of it. The whole premise is like this lady has a sword that literally can like rewrite reality, and the whole thing with the color scheme looks very Klimt, like Gustav Klimt, but when you start really paying attention and seeing like the layouts of everything, it looks like she's like on a circuit board. They're almost like, you know, like electricity in a computer, and the way that like all of your techniques are labeled, that they look like I don't know, like coding commands and everything. So like the whole aesthetic kind of works. It has my favorite of all the Supergiant soundtracks. The visual design is, you know, I've mentioned it a couple times, but definitely my favorite of their protagonists. Like they're so good at making games like really stand out. Like if you've played Hades, like you know that what they're capable of. And what's really impressive is that they've managed to stay independent this whole time with the same. I mean, their team has expanded because of Hades, and they needed to, but it's still like I think like 20, 30 people. Like it's still like a very relatively small studio, and especially going as far back as Transistor, they were still using Gen Z as the artist, and they're still using Darren Korb as a composer of their music. So it's like they have the strong visual style, and they vary. Like even though the games are isometric, like you're fundamentally doing very, very different things in them. Probably the closest that are together, now that I think about it, is Bastion, their first game, and Hades, because, you know, at the very base outset, they are like third-person action games. Hades obviously leaning more toward being a roguelike, but yeah, no, this is my favorite of everything that they've ever done, and it's always so cheap. Like that and Bastion you could easily find for like $2 on Steam sales, and not even Steam sales, on like PSN, on Xbox, on the Switch. Like you can play on your phone, like it's everywhere. And definitely, if you get a chance to play it on something that you've got, like spend the $2. It's fucking great.
Yeah, my wife picked it up on the Switch. I need to play hers. She bought it off on a digital sale, and I've always seen footage for this game, and I've always wanted to play it myself. So I'll do so off of your recommendation, man. Cool.
Yeah, it's my literally my current background on my
Oh
home
shit,
computer. Like I'm looking right at it right now.
it's super stylish, man. I fucking dig that.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Gen Z because she is a super, super, super old school MAHQ person from back in the IRC days.
No
Oh
way.
man, that's super
That's
cool.
way.
Awesome.
And if you went and looked up our old April Fool's prank about the fake Seed series and the fake grandiose Gundam, she drew that.
Oh, that's so fucking neat.
What? Yo, that's awesome.
Yep.
I'm glad to see that she got involved in gaming. I hope her career has continued since then.
I mean, just based off of the Super Giant stuff, like I think that's going pretty well.
Yeah. But yeah, when she brought that, I was like, oh man, that's a blast from the past. So, you know, like over 20 years ago, she was a
Yo.
regular member for many years of the MHQ IRC channel, which, you know, for the record, still exists, and we are not affiliated with in any way, shape, or form.
Oh no.
Um, it's a story for another time. And yeah, so I was glad to see that she, you know, was still pursuing her art and has done very well for herself.
Well, props
That's
to her,
awesome.
man. That's fantastic.
So yeah, go on if you haven't played it. Support her. Support an old visitor.
MHQ alumni. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, there's some out there. Next up, we have Ultra Street Fighter 4, which before I turn this over to Pedro, in the Google Doc next to this, he wrote in brackets, in all caps, Elena Baby.
That's right.
You know,
Yes.
he has it bad for Elena.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
no, that's Elena's my favorite Street Fighter character. Like seeing her animation in Third Strike that's what drew me into the game. I was just very, very impressed with that, and like she's just very fun to play as. And
Yeah.
you know, I had my issues with Street Fighter 4, but by the time they got to Ultra, like I really felt that they had gotten enough characters that I like to play as in there that I'm ultimately like good with it. And Elena plays fucking great. Like I love that she's a lot of fun.
Yeah. She's also one of the most broken characters in the game.
Yeah, that was ended up kind of being sad. Where it's just like, oh man, everybody hates Elena now.
she is so broken. Not in Street Fighter 3. She's actually low tier in Street Fighter 3
Yeah,
when she first premiered. But in 4, she is the bane of everyone's existence because of that healing super she has.
Yep.
But when they announced her for 6, which she doesn't come out till like mid next year, late next year for Street Fighter 6, people groaned. I could hear the groans across the country.
How dare they?
I love Elena.
How dare they?
I messed around with Elena since 3 and 4. I liked her in that. She wasn't my main, but it was cool. But I'm glad. I'm glad to see her inclusion in this game. She was one of the assets from Tekken Cross Street Fighter that game, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which did not sell well. But like all the Street Fighter characters that were new in that game that hadn't been in 3D yet, they moved over to Ultra. So Ultra's kind of like a cousin to that game in that sense. But that game was super cool, man. It had a fantastic roster. And yeah, when it came down to it, my only drawbacks to that game is kind of the imbalance with certain characters like Elena and Yoon. And there's someone else, Rufus maybe. But other than that, that game was fantastic. It only lasted about a year and some change before 5 came out. And just
Yeah, that was that kind of the
completely
disappointment. There wasn't like a lot of time with it.
Nah. And 5 lost me. Like I was off Street Fighter for like 5 years until 6 came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. I just did not like 5, man. But 4
5 took a long time for me to get into, but I eventually got back to it. Like after like a couple updates.
Yeah, Ultra was a great send off for 4, and I'll toss it back to Chris.
All right, we are coming down to the end, and our penultimate game is PT, aka
Woo-hoo!
Playable Teaser. This was the free demo that was released, and after lots of mystery about it, was revealed to be Silent Hills, which was supposed to be a collaboration between Kojima and Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when he left Konami over the production of MGS5, this game was canceled. He obviously did go on to work with Guillermo del Toro on Death Stranding.
Yep.
But after the cancellation of Silent Hills, Konami went to the absolute most absurd lengths possible to memory hole this game.
Right?
They delisted it, they had it removed. You could not reinstall it if you uninstalled it. They went so far in trying to erase this game that when the PS5 came out in 2020, you could do a system transfer all your games from a PS4. And all of the journalists who were doing reviews of the PS5, they were able to do system transfers from PS4s that had PT. And once the news got out that you could do this, Konami asked Sony to do a firmware update to specifically block the transfer of PT to the PS5.
Wow. Wow, that is hateful
Yeah.
as fuck.
After they delisted this game, people started selling on eBay PS4s that had PT on it.
Wow.
For the longest time, that was the only way to play it. Fucking buying a whole ass PS4 just to get this fucking demo, because that is how deranged Konami is and wants to pretend that this thing never existed.
And that's why
I
we need
almost
software
kept my-
preservation.
Yeah, I almost kept
Yes.
my PS4 despite how limited space I had because of PT, but ultimately I needed the money more than,
Oh,
than this,
shit.
and needed to keep the space.
Yeah, man. I never got the. I believe I got the medal with this game once, but this game is fucking scary, dude. That woman that haunts that house is just. I can't take it, man. I'm a chicken
good.
shit. I'm just say I'm a chicken shit straight up.
That's like a robust, like indie game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very limited, but like it has a very specific goal for what it wants to do, and it does it really fucking well.
It inspired lots of indie games,
It
including
did.
people doing remakes of PT directly to try to make it more accessible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is cool. At least it planted that seed, and I'm sure some horror game making master is going to fucking take this to the next level if they haven't already. But yeah, it's too much for my chicken shit ass. So
Yeah, if
sit
you
down.
want to like ramp up the kind of depression factor of it not happening, Junji Ito was also working with like doing like monster designs. So you just imagine what
Junji
fucked up
Ito?
shit would have been.
Yo, I'm done.
Yeah,
Yo.
and then imagine with Akira Yamaoka doing the fucking soundtrack to that. That would have been just the fucking shitting my pants. Like,
What a waste. Now I'm mad. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
All right, our final game and also final thing to discuss tonight is Dragon Age Inquisition. This was the third game in the Dragon Age series, and the first developed for that lovely, lovely, lovely Frostbite engine that everybody in BioWare absolutely loves and has nothing bad to say about.
I'm sure.
And if you don't think that I'm telling you the truth, go read all the articles by Jason Schreier where he talks to people at BioWare about Frostbite, and you will see the very strong feelings they have about that engine.
Ooh.
Yeah, read his second book. His second book has an entire chapter devoted just to the bullshit involved in getting this game out there and somehow making it into a good game. Because, oh boy, it apparently got down right to the limit.
It is a good game. I'm sure we talked about this on Chaos Theater. Well, we talked about the first two at least.
Yeah.
I don't think we were talking about Inquisition, but the second game was very criticized for its length and for recycled environments, rightly so on both counts.
Mhm.
And I feel with this game, which only came out, 3 years later, I want to say,
Yeah.
on an entirely new engine and a new generation, big old mess of a game to make. It's a solid game, but I also feel like BioWare was trying to overcorrect a little bit too much on the deficiencies of 2. And it's like, oh, okay, you thought that 2 was very limited because you're just in and around Kirkwall, so we're going to have these gigantic fucking spaces in Inquisition. They're going to be so goddamn big, like the hinterlands, that
Yep.
you're not even going to know what to do with them, literally.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
and it ends up becoming like just like an item
Slog.
hunt at a yeah, and that part, those parts of it are definitely. No, again, when I was playing it, like I used that game to sort of my turn off my brain game or listen to a podcast and run around and kind of do like a checklist. And that's not necessarily a positive, but I played the game twice and enjoyed it both times.
The story's fun. The character's interesting. You got Varric back, which is great because Varric is like the best thing of Dragon Age.
Yeah, Iron Bull is fucking great.
Iron Bull is great. There's a lot of fun stuff in this game. Iron Bull makes me sad because in my first playthrough of this game, I let his people die, and then later he betrayed me. It made me very, very sad.
Yeah.
But also practically, it made me sad because he was actively in my party at the time that he chose to betray me, which meant that I was down a man trying to fight all these fucking Kunari at the same time.
You picked the right time.
Down a man.
Yeah, no, the same thing happened to me.
Leave. Damn.
So it's like, man, I thought we were bros, man. So on my second playthrough, I made sure to save his people, and he did not betray me. That made me happy.
Nice. That's what's up. I can't say much. I never really played through these games, but I heard they were really good. So that I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Dragon Age is like a roller coaster. It's got its ups and its downs, and we have a new game coming out in 2 weeks, the Veilguard, which, unfortunately, a lot of the people who made these first 3 games are no longer at BioWare. So, remains to be seen how good this game will turn out to be, and if it'll be a success or if it will be the last gasp of BioWare.
This is their last chance.
Of course, all the grifters are, grifting about this game. It's woke, it's DEI, it's an agenda. They are ridiculously mad about the fact that in the character creator, one of your options that you can have is top surgery scars.
Fucking assholes.
God damn it, man.
An option. You don't need to do it.
Yeah,
you don't need to do it if you don't want to. You can move on with your miserable, pathetic life and make your fucking incel character or whatever it is that you do.
Exactly.
Your black-pilled character, whatever. You don't need to do it.
It's there for people who want to do
making 5 billion videos on YouTube about how you're so mad about it.
But it's so profitable, they'll never stop. But yeah, man, it's just an option there for people who want to get that to do that for their character. I don't get why people get so. It's outrage culture. Let me not delve into that. I'll waste time. But yeah, it's a shame.
It's
these people
grifting
make
culture
money.
more accurately because it's like if you're complaining that a Veilguard is all woke and DEI, it's like, have you ever played a fucking BioWare game, you filthy tourist?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
We need to reclaim that word, and I'm going to dismissively call all these people who complain about woke this and that and everything tourists, because they are tourists who have not actually played the games. They don't know anything about it. They're just raging for the sake of engagement, and they are filthy fucking tourists, and they need to get the fuck out of gaming spaces and let us enjoy things.
There's worse things to complain about.
But Inquisition, great game. A little bit too big on the open world side, and we'll see how the story of the Dread Wolf unveils in the Veilguard. So with that, I want to thank Pedro for having joined us for yet another number 4 year episode.
That's my pleasure. It's been been a great time every time.
Next time we're going back. Oh yeah. But next time we're going back to 1985, baby. Yeah. Best
you
year.
remember
buddy.
My favorite
That's
year of all
right.
time, baby. But yeah, man. Just real quick, I'll run down the websites. You guys always make sure to check out mahq.net. That's the Mecha and Anime headquarters. Go there, check out the articles that are there, the reviews for different Mecha anime that they have reviews up there for, the line art, and all the great details on the Mecha that you can find there. MechaTalk.net is the official forums of MAHQ. Go there and join the conversation. You can find us on Facebook at MAHQ1. It's a group on there, just /groups MAHQ1. You can join, or you can apply to join the group. Don't be an asshole and you'll get in. But yeah, also find us on Blue Sky, as I mentioned earlier in the show, mahq.net, and also Gundam. You can find us easily on there. And on YouTube, youtube.com/GundamMAHQ, where we stream live, usually every other Thursday. If you want to know when we're going to be streaming, make sure to follow us on Blue Sky and other social media. Twitch.tv/FightersReady is where you can watch it on Twitch, for those who prefer to watch it there. Also, as a big favor to me, if you can check out my website, which is VermilionRoyale.com. I've got making big moves for the book in 2025. I'm going to be looking for beta readers. So if you're a voracious reader and you want to actually read the book and give me your honest opinion, I would love that. And I could definitely use feedback so that way I can help to get things going. If you go to the website, which is VermilionRoyale.com, you can see a lot of the concept art for the characters. And I've actually put up overviews for the first couple of books in the series. So you can guys go there and check out the plot line and let me know what you think, man. I'd be honored if you did. And other than that, I don't have much else to say, man. Chris, anything you needed to say before we go?
No, I'll see everybody in December to talk
Yes!
about Gundam Wokium for Vengeance.
Wokium, son.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. Oh, Chris, have a great trip in Japan. I hope you have a blast, man. Have the time of your life. And I can't wait for you to come back so you can tell the stories, man.
You must become the Setsuna, become the Gundam.
Yes! Exactly.
Yes. Oretachi wa Gandamu.
Hell yeah.
And yes, Japanese toilets despite Neo. Yes, I will enjoy every Japanese toilet, and
Damn
then
straight.
maybe I'll get my own Shiba to show up Foxy,
Yes!
and then we'll see.
Got him. By all means.
We'll see.
Foxy getting a
Or at least
challenger.
take a picture with one.
There you go.
All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Gundam at MAHQ. Sobra will be back next week with Neo. Well, not next week, but in 2 weeks with Neo. I will not, and who knows what's in store. See you later.